All right, we got an interesting story, ladies and gentlemen, with New York developer James McManus signing a term sheet for over $8 million, said to be financing was structured to approximately satisfy on a project in Connecticut, over $3 million underway, an additional $5 million intended to bring that project to completion. Let's hear the whole story, though. We welcome in James. Mr. McManus, I believe, is attorney as well, Kieran on, and Mr. Laufer, Andrew Laufer. We'll get to them right now. We say good morning to both.
Good morning, Jay. How are you?
Good having you. Let's get into a little bit of this whole thing, James McManus. Give us a sense, all regarding, it's a crazy story here, but it's one to kind of put out there, and hopefully it won't happen to others. But let's start us off as far as the timeline is concerned. Go ahead.
So we had a project in Connecticut that was in 2024, and basically we were moving along well. And when the first $4 million loan was expiring, and we were anticipating, because Fairbridge Asset Management, I should call them mismanagement, had agreed to give us $8.2 million. They sent us over the terms, and then the next day after which they sent over a notice that they were rescinding the terms.
So basically, that's how you were notified, right? What about was there any reasoning behind it?
So we have internal emails and communications that they specifically target me, and the reason behind it is basically a greedy lender that's seen an opportunity to use criminality to extort an additional $1 million, and that was basically it.
Unbelievable. Now, this happening August 15th. Now, you have said that evening that this is kind of like an extortion type of plan that came into play, correct?
Absolutely.
And that would include an attempt to extract, from what we read here, another $1 million or so. It had nothing to do with this project here. So what exactly was communicated to you that night? And how was it presented as far as that particular demand?
Well, that night, they sent an email to a partner of mine without me on it, which they've never done before. And they told him this has nothing to do with him. This has to do with Jim. So at that point, they targeted me.
Okay.
Then they went on a campaign for months, basically almost like in the movie The Godfather. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse, but when I did, I ended up having a heart attack and ended up on my deathbed. But thank God for St. Francis here out in Long Island. They kept me alive, and Dr. Maruzek and his team.
All right. Now we're talking, is this Andrew? Is that it? Is this?
No, this is James.
This is James. All right, James. My producer. I thought we were going to have your attorney on, but we just have you on here.
No, Andrew Laufen is my attorney. He's a real pit bull, and he's one of the best in the business, and he fights injustices like nobody else.
All right, so we just wanted to make sure James McManus is on the line with us. So you refused to pay the additional $1 million. Jim, what happened to the project on the ground? And basically, the lender itself deliberately stopped it, correct?
Correct. They deliberately stopped it. In essence, if I didn't sign for an additional $1 million that they would line their pockets with, they stopped the project. We had an interest reserve account that they continued to extract $50,000 a month from. And the project, from the point of where they did this conspiracy to where we were able to start again, was 10 months delayed. And basically, it was only until after I had the sextuplet bypass that I just was exhausted and I couldn't continue the fight. But I'm still fighting now, a year later, so no rest.
Yeah. When I read about this, and again, allegedly, this is what you allege with Fairbridge. They drained more than $500,000 or so from the interest reserves over the 10 months or so that followed there. What was that number to cover, that reserve number, and how did you track what was taken away?
So at that point, we were paying $50,000 a month on the money that we've already used. So it was just simple accounting at that point, how to track it.
Okay. Now, what about the sequence there that impacted your health? Heart failure, life or death surgeries, and everything else that took place a couple of years ago. Thank goodness you're on the mend. But what was happening medically, Jim, during that time, and how did the stress of it all kind of intertwine with the condition and everything else?
Well, thank you, Jay. Basically, right after in August 15, 2024, when this conspiracy to steal money came about, obviously I was put under a tremendous amount of stress. About a month and a half afterwards, I suffered a heart attack, unbeknownst to me. And then I ended up fast forward, I ended up in St. Francis for emergency surgery. And it was 6 bypasses and a heart valve repair, 7.5 hours on the table, and 5 hours clinically dead, kept alive by machines. And the Fairbridge mismanagement, and I say that facetiously mismanagement, but truthfully, they completely impacted my health because I never had an issue like that before.
Now, there were changes, right, in the agreement compared with the original 8.2 in their term sheet, or no?
Yeah, ultimately they got what they wanted. They got an additional $1 million, so it went to $9.2 million. But, Jay, one thing happened along the way. We did uncover systemic fraud, and basically Fairbridge presents themselves as an institutional-grade lender, and they have institutional investors on their end. Oak Tree Capital and Brookfield, which is a $1 trillion company, and a few other entities just like that. However, they deceived the borrower, like myself, and Andrew Laufer's office. The phone is ringing off the hook with past clients of Fairbridge's that similar situations have occurred. So in this particular case, they've always made threats, even that they would go get big law firms, and they would bury us with paperwork. And they went out and got a law firm with 100 lawyers. But I was the first one to take it to them. And right now, like everything else, we have a lot of company coming down the pipeline.
Not only the 8.2, what it says to me is, the 1 million in the manner they required. I mean, in essence, what does that mean in practical terms?
Well, the $1 million that the way they went about getting it was through extortion and coercion and deception and a harassment campaign that we have mountains of evidence to support our case.
Incredible, really is. Well, let's get an update as far as the health is concerned. Where are you at now?
Well, I'm not going to be the same man, but thank God I have a great support team, and one day at a time. And I thank God every day. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle. You get financially destroyed and physically destroyed. So you're working on both ends.
Well, hopefully you're going to get a lot stronger. We report on a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, Jim McManus, in my time here behind the mic. It's unbelievable. But what's the one thing you want regulators, lenders, other developers to understand here, from this type of storyline?
The one message I would get out there is all these lenders have a KYC, know your client. But I think it's more important for the borrower to know your lender, because there's lenders that are genuine and they're out there for the good of the customer and the project. But in this case, it's a loan to own type of base, and basically they'll lend you the money, but you do the hard work, and at the end of the day, they will engineer and manufacture situations so that you'll lose the property and they'll end up with it. So be careful of who you borrow from. And in Fairbridge's mismanagement case, they loan to own, and they'll take any low-life tactic to acquire what they go after.
Is Fairbridge still in operation today as we speak?
Well, Fairbridge is still in operation today out of Darien, Connecticut. However, prior to that, they were Real Fight, but it's the same cast of characters, John Laterra and Brian Walters and Steve Wissack, and they had to close Real Fight due to millions of dollars in SEC fines and sexual harassment cases on their employees. So they just switched the name like they do in their company profile, doing bait and switch and shell game with companies to give an illusion of an institutional grade company.
I tell you, playing with people's lives in more ways than one, I'll tell you that much. Not only from a monetary standpoint, but from a real life standpoint as far as where you're concerned. You know,
No,
when you,
they act as a real mob. They have all the cast of characters. They have disbarred attorneys that went to prison for real estate fraud. They have workers that are banned from any banks. So basically, you know, from the hierarchy on down to their employees, they work as a true mob.
yeah, I think it's a lesson to be learned here. It really is. And this is why there's such disdain as far as the industry is concerned, because you don't know who you can trust. And that's the key word here.
That's exactly correct. And if you ever seen the movie The Big Short in 2008 and 9 in the real estate crisis, what we've uncovered here is very similar, but on the commercial lending side of things. So thankfully, we're getting a lot of press coverage. And we're down in the Southern District of Manhattan with a RICO case against them. And again, Andrew Laufer is handling that case. And if there's anybody you want in your foxhole, I've been blessed with Andrew, and I can't thank him enough.
Do me a favor. I want you to stay in touch with us. Kieran, take Jim's number if we don't have it already. And Jim will, stay in contact with us. We want to see finality in this case. Obviously, we want Jim to get better from a health standpoint, but certainly others have been harmed by the alleged goings-on of Fairbridge, and that's something that we have to keep an eye on. James, can't thank you enough. You want to say a final comment there? Go ahead.
Jay, I can't thank you enough for having me on, and I really look forward to speaking to you again.